Record.
Number one, hit record. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming. And just want to say, if anybody did not, you can get your parking validated at the front, and then we're going to record this here, and then it'll get released in a couple weeks on all the pod channels. So before we actually start the official record, just to warm you up a little bit, what is one habit you are working to break or build?
Icebreaker question. Let's hear what you got.
Is this just for fun or in our business?
Just for fun.
I'm trying to get my mileage up and running. So, yeah. Building, not breaking.
So what were you at before that you're trying to go up from?
Well, I got to 5 miles last week, so I'm trying to get up to like 7.
I think I'm at like 0.2.
I'm trying to break procrastination as a habit. It's a lifelong journey.
I would say time management. I tend to think I can do all of the things in as little time as possible, and then I'm surprised when it takes longer than I thought it would. So
I like how I think that we always struggle with that, and you guys are saying the same thing. It's just like two different ways. Anyway. Okay, well, cool. Well, that was fun. We will just get started here. Let's see. Okay, welcome to the Real Estate Mailbag. I'm Angie Lawless, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Brandon Miller and Steve Morris.
We're Wagon Wheel Title, a real estate title company. We have 9 attorneys on staff, and our pledge to the real estate professionals we work with is that we will make you look like the stars that you are and provide your buyers and sellers with a first-class experience. On this podcast, we interview the best of the best in the real estate industry and bring real estate tips, tricks, stories, and news to anyone interested in real estate. We want to hear your questions going forward. You can email us at mailbag@wagonwheeltitle.com.
All right. Today's panelists were selected because they were some of the most recommended professional organizers from word of mouth, realtor reviews, as well as other online reviews and recommendations. In a real estate market characterized by flux and change, today's panelists bring unique perspectives and offer unique services that, as we'll learn more here today, can significantly enhance real estate in a variety of ways, including in the context of preparing a home or condo for sale.
All right, so now to intro today's panelist, I'm going to start with Melanie Seaver. Thank you so much for being here, Melanie. So if you ask her family and friends, they will tell you that organizing is something Melanie has always done for fun. Years ago, when her sister-in-law had her 5th baby, congratulations to her also, Melanie packed up and drove 9 hours to visit and organize her pantry and several closets in her home to help out as she transitioned with the new baby. That's when she realized that she really had a love of organizing for other people. She began offering professional organizing services very part-time in 2017, and 3 years later started Seaver Organizing Company. As her organizing business began to grow and change, she decided to rename the company to represent the business well in our city, and in 2023, they became Nashville Home Organizers. She now has a team of 5 excellent organizers who work with clients all over the Nashville area. Melanie has been happily married to her husband and unpaid business consultant, Bill. Thank you, Bill, for over 24 years. They moved to Nashville as newlyweds and have been here ever since. They have 4 children, 2 girls in college and 2 boys still at home. Besides running her business and household, Melanie is very active in her church and school community and still enjoys organizing her own home for fun. Melanie, thank you for being here.
You guys have big Christmases. Lots of kids.
Yeah, they have 9 kids now.
They have 9?
Yes. They adopted some, so.
So many.
It's a lot.
You just really thought the 5th one was probably the last one, and then, nope, 4 more.
Well, I was adding their 5 plus your 4, and so it really took me when you said they alone had 9.
It's a lot.
Well, they need your help.
All right, so our second panelist here this morning is Trisha Counterman. She is a professional organizer, certified KonMari consultant, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay, KonMari, and the owner of ECO Echo Consulting and Organizing.
Oh, wait, pause. All right, so to confirm, this is not in the podcast. So to make sure that we get the name of your business right, is it Eco Consulting? Okay. Try again.
Okay.
Take two.
Trisha Counterman is our second guest here today. She is a professional organizer, certified KonMari consultant, and the owner of Eco Consulting and Organizing. She offers customized organization services to individuals, families, and small businesses with a focus on eco-conscious and sustainable solutions. Through the KonMari method, which we'll hear more about a little bit later today, Trisha guides her clients through, quote, the life-changing magic of tidying up, which helps create a space that reflects what sparks joy for you and supports your ideal lifestyle while letting go of what no longer serves you. Sounds
Welcome
good.
to the show. And then we got Sara here in the middle. Sara has loved organizing since childhood, when she would often rearrange and declutter not only spaces within her own family's home, but also those of friends and neighbors. It's very nice of you.
Hopefully they all thought so.
As an adult, Sara learned that mental health struggles are often exacerbated by the environment we live in. Through her own struggles with depression, anxiety, and ADHD, she's found that having functional, stress-free spaces can truly support our daily lives. With a passion for turning clutter into calm, she guides people through practical systems that make it easier to stay organized long-term. Sara believes that an organized home isn't just about tidy shelves, it's about creating more time, energy, and peace for what matters most. I love this so much because I think it's a very vulnerable bio, and also so real because, depression, anxiety, ADHD, all those things I feel like most of us touch on. And so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for saying that.
Now it's time for Brandon's Market Minute.
All right, the most exciting and most anticipated segment of the show every week, every month. All right, as we sit here today in late September, today is September 24th, it's time to look back at how the Nashville housing market performed in August. Home sales in August totaled 3,056, which was right at a 1% increase from the same period we saw last August. Despite a slower start to the year this year and a significant dip in sales that we saw in May, which now looks more like an outlier, but the past few months have seen a brisker clip for home sales, and we now sit with total closings year to date that are basically the same, kind of, nearly in line with what we saw to this point last year. So that's a positive. Active listings were up 21.3% as compared to the same period last year. This suggests the market is more balanced. Buyers have more time to choose. They have a little bit more ability to negotiate things like concessions. Days on market were at 49, which is just a little bit up from where we were last August at 46. Median sales price for a home in August was $505,000, which was up 4.1% from last August mark, which was $485,000. Condo prices were also up, but less so. They were up about 1%. Median price this August was $353,450. The biggest story in real estate continues to be interest rates. As many of our listeners know, on September 17th, which was last week, the Federal Reserve cut its benchmark rate by a quarter point from 4.25 to 4%. Biggest headline in local and national media was that mortgage rates saw a 3-year low last week, so that is very exciting. We saw a few lenders, just kind of anecdotally, that we had rate sheets starting in the 5s last week, although we've also seen a little bit of bump up this week. We will continue to watch the rate environment closely as the Fed signals more rate cuts in the near future, which should, we hope, also continue to put some downward pressure on these mortgage rates.
Great job, Brandon.
It was more than a minute.
It always is, but we love it, Brandon. Okay, so now we're going to find out how you guys got started into this path. I know we touched on it a little bit in your bios, but also, if you have a particular style? I know we mentioned the KonMari method, but just give us a little bit about your background, how you got here, and your philosophy when it comes to organizing.
Sure. So I have been following Marie Kondo, who is the founder, Japanese organizer of KonMari method, for a while. I read her books. I was very interested in how she does things. And I had the opportunity finally thanks to COVID, she started offering her certification course virtually. So I said, this was my sign. I had a week at work where I was organizing everything in the small business, literally everything. And I was like, oh, I have so much energy this week. And I'm like, probably because that's what I'm supposed to be doing, not whatever it is I'm doing here, which was operations management. So I did the certification course, did my practice hours, all of those things. And I just really fell in love with this method. And a lot of people sometimes will think that it's about minimalism, but it's really about only keeping the things that bring you joy or make your life easier or function well within the lifestyle you're currently living. And then letting those things go that don't serve you or don't fit your life with gratitude. No guilt or shame or obligations that we all put on ourselves. I have to keep this, that, and all of those things. And the KonMari method is also really a much more sustainable method. You're not rushing out and buying things before you start the process of really confronting the items you already have. Not getting more stuff for your stuff. And then, it's a process that kind of, once you confront your stuff and go through all of the items you own, you really start to take a look at other parts of your life. What brings you energy? What drains you? What are things you're holding on to that maybe you don't need to keep anymore? So I just really love that approach, and I really love the transformation that it brings to clients and seeing, how much lighter and more peaceful they feel after going through that.
I love that. So you're like, I'm getting rid of all my socks, I'm getting rid of all my containers, and now like my husband is out and all these other things. You're just like, okay, get it all.
Listen, if people have to be let go as well, if they no longer spark joy, off they go with love and gratitude.
So I got started. I had a corporate job. I was in corporate sales for 10 years, and I was really, really miserable. I just kept thinking, I'm going to climb this corporate ladder. It's going to get better. So I got to a point where I actually went on short-term disability. I was so depressed. Wonderful company, had a great short-term disability program. So I started thinking, what can I do that I really enjoy? And it was around that time that there were a lot of shows about organizing, and I realized you can make this a business, and I love it. A lot of my clients, I think, also have some depression. It's easy to sit in your home with your things, and when you don't tidy them, they pile up. A lot of people, I work with a lot of seniors, they might have inherited a lot from their parents, and so they have their whole home, and now they have their whole parents' home inside, and it a lot of times makes people insular and embarrassed, and there's a lot of shame associated with the things we own. So I really enjoy helping those type of people realize they can live with less, and that there's no shame in it, but there is a different way to live if you want to declutter. I also like to help people realize that they spend so much money on things because they can't find. So a lot of people that'll say, oh, organizing is really expensive, blah, blah, blah. But I think there's a great return on investment. In my old job, I would analyze storerooms for companies. How much money do they have on their shelf? How much of that are they actually using? So there are places they have $2 million on their shelves, and they use maybe $100,000. And I think that happens in people's homes too. So I had a client reach out yesterday about saying that he goes out and buys things every time he needs to do a new project, but he has it. He just can't find it. So I think there's a big direct link, not only to our mental health, but to our wallets that we're able to help people with.
And it's a shame that we can't measure the price of our mental health because, every time that you walk into your house, if like it's been cleaned or you've cleaned out your garage or anything, you're just like, just feels so good.
It does.
I was just thinking about how many tape measures I have. Several. We don't know the exact number.
Well, just don't buy any more. Keep the ones you have, but don't buy more.
So I think I was also born an organizer. As a kid, I loved to do that in my own room. And my sisters and I would trade bedrooms just for fun because it was fun to set up a new room and new closet and everything. So, and then fast forward to adulthood, 4 kids at home. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I would actually organize spaces in my house to relax because I was home with my kids and it was something relaxing. And as our kids, grow and change, our stuff grows and changes, but we don't necessarily get rid of the old stuff. The baby, they're toddlers now. We don't need the baby stuff. And so just kind of seeing that accumulation in my own home and enjoying working through that in my own home, I was like, oh, and realizing other people don't do that in their homes. I'm like, I could do this for people and make a difference because it just accumulates. They don't have time to do it. They don't know how to do it. And so at some point during that stay-at-home mom journey, I realized this could be a business. And so 2017, I still had a preschooler at home, and I was like, let me just try this. And I put a post on Facebook to see if people would be interested. The industry hadn't started really growing and booming at that point. And I started doing it for other people and just loved it. And through my process, seeing like how less is more, just shedding the excess stuff, that the more time I had to do things I enjoyed instead of just constantly managing all this stuff. And so being able to see other people shed their extra things, and then they don't have to manage it because they don't want to. So
This is making me want to go home like right now and get rid of a bunch of stuff so I don't have to manage it.
It reminded me of when I was probably like late 20s, and Steve was my roommate at one point, and I did not want to accumulate stuff.
This is not going to be a story about how I'm messy, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because it could be.
No. I know it was about me, is that I would not accumulate because I knew I was going to move a lot. I moved a lot. And so I had
Oh, yeah, this was weird.
I had like one of those plastic rolling carts as like my bedside, and then I had a blow up mattress, and I was not young. I mean, I'm like almost 30, and that's because I knew that I could just like pick it up and go myself. I didn't have to depend on anybody or ask anybody to do it. And now I look around my house because when I had then I moved to like a 600 square foot apartment where, it had the window AC that you had to take in and out, and everything you had to make a decision on. And now I, somewhere along the way, ended up with 4 children, and it's just, it like gives me heart palpitations just when I walk in the door. I'm like, why is there all this stuff here?
Just to flesh out that story briefly. So we would always have this argument also about who could live more cheaply and simply and be more frugal. And I was really good at it. Like hello, Kelly. I lived in some places that were not like great and were quite cheap. But I remember the next place she moved in was like 600 square feet, like behind somebody's garage. And I walked in, and like the living room ceiling, like I could feel like my hair on it at that time. And I was just like, you win. You're the winner of this.
So I finally won who was cheaper. And then I've lost.
You made a really good point too about like our stuff sometimes holds us back. So I had a theory in my 20s for promotions in the corporate world. It would have caused me to move. And I was really, I saved up for a really nice couch, and I had my whole apartment set up. And there were friends, especially a lot of young men, who just were like, no, I'll sell everything and move. And I think they got some more career advancements because their stuff wasn't literally holding them back. My stuff was holding me back.
I think it's a very, very good point. Okay, so we're going to start the breaking ground section, which is where we bring you recent real estate news and get panelist reaction to the stories. Today, it's about the physical space and about organization. So I'll let Steve talk about the article.
Okay, guys. So you have an article there in front of you, and it is about the history of home organization from Victorian trunks to the minimalist movement. And so I want to talk for just a second about different trends that it talks about throughout history. And then maybe you guys react to some of those and tell me what you think is most relevant for today, or kind of what you find most interesting. And it talks about kind of in the Victorian era, organization meant something a little bit different. Like people would go on trips and travels and bring back little curiosities and things like that. And they would want to display them. So there were all these curio cabinets and trunks and things like that. Then you get to the 20s and 40s, and life has become kind of less about displaying every single little thing you have. And it's more about form and function and practicality and storage and using all the space kind of efficiently. And then we move on to the 70s and 80s when it's more about kind of organizing efficiently, but at the same time expressing yourself, maybe through the use of orange and avocado green and other colors that, you know, people still love. And then we move on to today when a big trend is minimalism and getting rid of things that are deemed unnecessary. And I guess just tell me a little bit about kind of what organizing trend speaks to you the most, and what do you think is most relevant now, and kind of what do you see coming next?
I have some thoughts on that. I think as we've moved through the generations, we have found that older generations, you know, they, like you said, they have all these things. And a lot of the younger generations are, you know, it's typical that when your families will leave you items. And what I'm finding is that a lot of the younger generations, they don't want any of the things that their family members are leaving them. So I think, you know, we've kind of shifted from having a house full of items that mean something to now, you know what, I want less in my house because it gives me more space. It's less to maintain, it's less to do. And I have noticed that. And also I've noticed, you know, more of a focus on being eco-conscious, which is really what my passion is. So I love that. But just being a little bit more mindful and more intentional with bringing things into your home, and also making things function better. You know, I feel like previously it was just like, this is what the house came with, or this is what you had, and that's it. But now we have all these options to like customize and do all these cool different things that can really transform a space to work so much more efficiently for what you actually have and how you use it.
Yeah, to play on that, I think there's the rise of fast fashion or fast furniture has really sparked a need for us more so than ever before. So a lot of the things that people are holding on to are wood furniture, which is much nicer and much more expensive now than the things a lot of people buy. But that doesn't mean you have room for them in your home. So I do see more of a need because of just consumerism is up, and the rate at which we can buy something and it doesn't work. But, oh, we spent $10 on that. I don't want to get rid of it. That's $10. Maybe I'll make it work. Maybe I'll find a use for this plastic thing where there's a part missing. So there's a lot of guilt and shame in holding on to things, no matter how inexpensive they are, that I see.
And thinking about the generations, my grandmother, who she was born in the 20s, and most people born in that era just have a lot of stuff. You know, they grew up in the Depression, like they were taught that you don't get rid of things. However, she was complete opposite. It was very interesting. Yes. So we would always joke that when she passes away, it won't take any time at all to clean out her house, because she was already giving away family pictures to the family before she died, you know, because she doesn't want them to deal with that. You eat dinner at her house and you have to hold on to your plate and fork because she's already cleaning up the dishes before. I think that's where I got a lot of my organizing, decluttering from. But anyway, she did pass away this past December, and my mom and her sisters got her house cleaned out in like a couple days. I mean, there was hardly anything there. She lived there for 70 years, you know, kind of thing. And so it's just, but most people in that generation, like you were saying about holding on to all the China patterns that they had, that they think that their grandchildren are going to want, their grandchildren don't want them, you know. And so it's just an interesting, but I think we are moving toward like a minimalist trend. My daughter's 21. I mean, she doesn't have anything, and she doesn't want to keep anything. She's like, why would I keep all this? It means nothing, you know?
Don't worry, kids. I mean, it's not about us. Like, just throw everything away. It's fine. Whatever. This is just a random question that I'm inserting for a friend, but any suggestions on organizing your car? Because my friend's car is always a mess from their kids and working in it.
I would say stop crashing it into things would be
That would help.
number one.
But the rentals also get very cluttered.
I would have her do a clean out, and during that clean out, assess what are the things she's cleaning out. Is it all trash? Then maybe she needs some sort of trash can in the car so it's easy to pick up. Is it all sports equipment? Maybe she needs a little command station in the back. It could be as simple as a milk crate, not something that she necessarily has to go out and buy, or something that can strap to the back. But really assess before you go out and buy anything. I think that's the biggest mistake I see a lot of people make. They buy products thinking the products will make them organized, but really it's about decluttering. So assess what it is that's painful in the car and take it from there.
I like that. I feel like moms need cars now with drawers. Like, skip that middle console, make it wider, and give me like a little, nightstand in there to put stuff in. We need that. That's important. Like food, pens, papers, all the things. Okay.
I have a tip on that. Put a trash can. Does your friend park in the garage?
Sometimes.
Put a big trash can in your garage. That's what I have. And so when it's so easy just to throw it in there.
Very good idea. You guys are good at this. Okay. Well, so let's see. Now we're going to do the path to profits, which is where you guys get to share tips and tricks that can help other people in real estate elevate their game. And so tell us a little bit about the services that you offer and how a real estate agent might be able to use your services to help their business and help their clients.
When I meet with realtors, I always talk about two things I can really help them do. And one is if they have clients whose house is not list ready, that's something we can come in. If the client is not motivated, doesn't know where to start, is overwhelmed, has 60 years of things, we can definitely help them get it ready to show. And then on the other end, people that move in, we can unpack and organize them. So growing up, I moved a lot. It was always with my parents' jobs. So big moving company came and they would unpack us, but they would just pile everything up on the kitchen. And it almost made it worse. So that is what we aim to help do at Do Your Organization is get everything up in a way that's functional for the family. Get it off the counters, get the boxes out, and help them live quickly in their home. I saw a statistic the other day that said it takes most families at least 180 days to get fully moved in. I mean, what is that, 6 months? If my math's right. So we can help do that in under a week.
That's staggering. For me, I'm also a military spouse, so I do also understand how with the military community, you're moving every few years. And that moving is so stressful. And I really think that having, you have stagers, you have realtors and agents who are going to help you with the process. But I really think that the organization is just such an added benefit to going through the things before you're getting ready to leave is the most efficient way to do it, because then you're going to save money on the long run. You're not going to have to pay to have things moved that you don't even want. You're not going to have to add those labor for whether you're hiring somebody or also yourself just to move things around. It's a lot. So really just kind of offering that value of being able to help them get their house ready to sell, but also do it in a way that's less stressful, because moving is just one of the most stressful times of a person's life. So
we do all the same things as well. Just the decluttering on the front end can help so much to prepare to move, but also just for those listing photos, and we can kind of be the bad guy. So the real estate agent doesn't have to be, helping them pare down all those personal things, getting their walls cleaned up, that kind of thing for sure.
And Melanie, I know that you said that you guys don't do this, but talk a little bit about the luxury concierge services, because I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure there are a couple companies in Nashville who offer a whole move concierge service where they come in with a client on the front end, assess their things. They see the new house they're moving into, talk through, where everything's going to live in the new house. The family goes on vacation if they want for a week, And the organizers manage everything from the movers, the packers, the specialty movers, like moving a piano, moving the special artwork, maybe a handyman to hang the TVs in the new house. So when the family's gone, all this is happening. And they get back from vacation and they are fully set up, organized, unpacked in their new home. They don't even see a cardboard box. So it's a really great service. I don't personally provide, but it would be amazing.
Yeah, they do everything from, making sure the fridge is cleaned out. So things that you have to think about, but oftentimes we don't when we're moving because so much. Also on one of the, like something you said that reminded me of this, one of the stressors anytime you're going through a mental health evaluation, it'll ask if any of these things happened in the last year. It might be a death in the family, it might be, but one of them is moving. That is one of the big stressors that can have people to have some mental health breakdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally see myself just like packing up, because you're packing up memories too. And so just that process of like leaving, I mean, well, I'm sure that if you're leaving a house that you've been in for a while, it brings up emotions, but I can see how that would be helpful.
Yeah, there's definitely a strong emotional side to it, especially if, you got married in that house, or that's where your babies were born, or, this was your first house. There's so many things tied to the homes that we have, and leaving them, and even if it's exciting, it's still a stressful, emotional time. And why not make that easier?
Yeah, and I know that our agents see that. We even see that at the closing table, right? They're like still crying, when they get there sometimes. So Steve's like awkwardly like looking at them like rocking. It's going to be okay. Sign here.
I've just learned sometimes you keep small talk to a minimum, because if you say like, so how long did you live here? That can really, you shouldn't say that. Yeah.
They're also like, did you look at the legal description?
Right. Okay. So at what point in the process do you think people should reach out to you guys to get involved? So is it, when you first get the listing, or when you're getting ready for pictures, or at what point do you guys plug in?
The sooner the better. It's a lot of time involved. And so I would say if an agent is talking to a potential client who's thinking about listing their home in the next 3 months, it's time.
Agreed. The sooner the better. I mean, it is such a luxury to be able to go through your things and get rid of things before you move, versus if you have to do it quickly, you don't have that. Similarly with like downsizing or right sizing, it's a luxury to be able to decide, I would love this to go to this organization. If you have a week or 2 weeks, that luxury's gone.
And I have actually a personal story with that. Back before I officially started my business, I had read the KonMari book, and I was going through my whole house. Again, it was relaxing to me. All the things and just getting rid of stuff. I probably spent about 3 months just slowly going through all the books, all the toys, all the paperwork. And I had time to do it. And we had thought about maybe moving, but we weren't putting our house on the market. And our agent knew that we were thinking about moving. And he called us one day. He's like, hey, have some buyers looking in your neighborhood. Would you want to show your house? Like, sure, why not? And at that point, my house was decluttered and pretty tidy, so it didn't take much time at all to get it ready to show somebody. And long story short, they bought the house. We never even listed it, so we were ready.
Well, this is anti-agent, but I also think that sometimes when you're getting your house ready and you get it looking really good, then you're like, turns out it's pretty great in here now. Like,
I'll just stay here. This place is great. Yeah. So how do you think, or do you have any like direct experience or stories? How do you think your services kind of impact how quickly a home sells, how it impacts pricing? Like, do you have any thoughts about that?
Absolutely. I know from personal experience, when we were looking for our first house, we saw some houses that were super cluttered. They weren't clean. And it was just real turnoff. When people see a house that is clutter free and there's a lot of empty space, well, not empty space per se, but it's spacious, it looks put together. The less you have, the more they're able to envision what they are going to do with the home. And they can picture their couch in this space, or they can picture, their coffee mugs in this cabinet, or whatever it might be. it allows them to really kind of take a better look at the home. And also, when things are clean and tidy, they also sort of tend to make you think they're more expensive or nicer or better value. Whereas if you're walking into a home that's messy or, you know, there's stuff everywhere, you're like, oh, just that visual clutter is immediately has an effect mentally. And I think that it'll sell faster. I think houses will sell faster. I think they will, you know, even go for higher prices too, because again, there's that value that they see when you're shopping for a home.
I'd be interested to know if there's a correlation between during a showing, how long people spend in the home and whether they make an offer versus quick. And I think that a home that's really cluttered, you're not going to want to spend a lot of time in it. You're going to get in, you're going to do your look, you're going to get out. So definitely having the right amount of things, because to your point, it needs to be staged a little bit, but not to the point where the spaces look small because your things are bursting out of them.
And I would also say if they're walking into a cluttered home, things are just falling off the shelves. To the buyer, it looks like they don't care about their home. They haven't taken care of the things that they don't see, you know, underground and that kind of thing.
All right. So tell us, what are some of the most common, you know, organizing mistakes that you see in homes, and, you know, how can agents, you know, help avoid those? Maybe things, you know, like, you know, we hear a lot of stories. If you walk into a house and something is super personalized, you know, somebody's collection of largemouth bass taxidermy on the wall may not be super engaging. But what do you all see, and kind of what is some of the advice you give about worst things you can do?
One of my favorites that you guys talked about was the water bottles. And I'm not sure who had that, but that's funny.
I mean, taxidermy for me would for sure be one of the worst things. I'm a big animal lover. I also find that people will just get things for ease or convenience, but they don't actually work or function within the space. So you think, oh, I have this shelving unit and I'm putting things on it, but it's in the way. You can't open or close the door as well, or just like little things and details that are often overlooked that might make the house flow better and appear more organized if you really just put a little bit more thought on the front end of it. I think people are just like Sara was saying, I'm going to get these bins and I'm going to be organized, but you have to actually measure the product, the space, what you're going to put in it, so that it actually flows and, you know, functions well.
Yeah, I'd say realtors also could talk to their clients and say, okay, now that your house is about to be listed, you know, everything you buy, think about where it's going to go. It has to live somewhere. Whether even that, you know, we think about that, we don't realize, but at the grocery store, we're not buying more than that could fit in our fridge. We're not buying more milk than we could store. You should do that with all your things. And that helps a listing, I would think, take it from photos to closing without the clutter, without it creeping back in if it does sit on the market a little longer.
One thing that comes to mind is just making sure you have the most appropriate things in the appropriate places. You know, like if it's your dining room, like let's not make it a schoolroom for your kids necessarily, unless it's like done tastefully, just so the buyer can visualize themselves in there.
So like when you guys are walking into a new house, what is, before you walk in the front door, you're like, this is going to be a total disaster when I see it. Like this, they for sure have too many of these in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if the items are starting to come outside, you can expect what you might walk into. So when you start to see that clutter creep outside, you know it might be a big job.
But what are the things that you would just, aside from like looking at it from the outside, that you would think that most every home that you see is going to have this?
If they have kids, it'll be water bottles. That's the new trend. Everyone has, I have one, and I've dropped it many times. It's got dents in it, but it is the trend to have 30 plus, or that's the souvenir everyone is getting, it seems like, is water bottles.
In every color.
In every home. In every cupboard.
Actually, mine are falling out of the cupboard because there are too many of them, so they're on the ground.
I was going to say, we talked about this earlier about bulk shopping at Costco or Sam's or subscription services. that they forget to turn off. And so, you know, they have 24 rolls of paper towels and then another one's going to come next week and there's no space for it. You know, bulk shopping can be really helpful in a lot of ways if you manage it well, but it just takes over your house and you have to manage it.
Another thing is souvenirs. So from travels or whatnot, and a lot of it is things that could be used. I see a lot of tea towels that are in storage. Use them. I mean, remember your trips, and yes, they might go bad, but what are they serving you in your attic? They're not at all, and no one's going to tie the memory. So go ahead and use them until you can't use them anymore.
Brandon, get all your tea towels out of storage. Start using them.
We talked about this a second, but if an agent has, you know, if their client has limited time, limited budget, and the house is not great, where should they focus, do you think?
The kitchen. Hands down.
Yeah, I'd say kitchen and primary closet.
That was my second one for sure. If you have the extra time, the primary closet. Because those are your every single day you're going to be in your kitchen. Every single day you're going to be in your closet. You have to get dressed to leave the house. You have to eat. And those are the areas that are really going to make an impact on when, you know, buyers are coming in and looking at the home.
That makes a lot of sense to me because when my kids come in the house, they put all their papers not in a stack, like just all over the countertop. And, you know, and the food as it comes out of the, you know, cabinets is all on the counter. And it's just, when you walk in, the first thing you see is the kitchen and you're just like, huh, I'm leaving.
Yeah, so give me your thoughts. All right, so I've got a house. There's too much stuff in it. I think a really great way to clean up my living area and feel more peaceful at home is to take a lot of this stuff that I really want because it's my stuff and put it in storage, maybe like a storage unit. Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Storage units are great. I think they're great for transition periods in your life. When you are maybe moving and you have to be out of the house and you need a place to go, or you're right sizing and your house is going to be a little bigger, so you're buying furniture to fit that. But I always tell clients, even if $200 a month or whatever the storage unit costs is, you know, a drop in the bucket to you, and that is so lovely, that is representative of the life that you've built and earned, give it to charity. Do something good with that money. I mean, you're putting it in storage is saying I'm never going to use this, or I don't know when I'm going to use this, but I want to hold on to it and pay somebody to hold on to it for me. Most people that have a storage unit, it's just a point of stress. It's not a point that brings joy to their life by any means. So yeah, storage is never really an option that I recommend to my clients unless they're in a transition period.
I would echo that sentiment. If you're moving, especially like with military families, you need storage temporarily, but it's going to go in that storage unit and that's it. You're not going to go and spend a Saturday afternoon opening up your boxes and be like, oh, remember when I did this? You're not going to sit in that little concrete cell and look at your most precious memories. So, yeah, I think it's just an out of sight, out of mind, which really, you know, and what Sara was saying earlier about using the items that bring you joy. And, you know, if you have certain things that you really love, use them now because they're no good to anyone just sitting in a box in storage that you're paying for.
So, Melanie, what trends are you seeing in home organization that agents should be aware of?
I'm definitely moving towards minimalist. That trend is huge for a lot of younger people, I think. People who are older, they don't see that yet, you know, and they have too much stuff to get there. People are interested in the aesthetic as far as like their baskets and their containers to like look all the same and be pretty. I think that can be really helpful, especially with the more open floor plans. You know, people have built-in shelving and it's easy just to throw things up there and they don't look good, but they need to store stuff. And so we can help, you know, make it style it a little bit, bring in some nice baskets that can be good organizational tools, but also be stylish and help with that. Especially with some of the beautiful pantries that are being built in homes. I mean, it's just like almost like a piece of furniture, you know, it feels like. Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people moving away from plastic, like food storage containers, to glass. That's real big. But there is a price tag associated with that as well. So it's definitely a balance. How much you want to spend.
it makes me happy when people move towards more eco-friendly options. So I'm loving that sustainability is coming more into play with that, with organizing and just being in the homes. And I would also say I'm noticing a little bit where kind of built-in storage in different things, like in furniture. So, you have an ottoman, but now instead of it's just flat ottoman, it opens up and you can put blankets in there or things like that. Or you have a bed that has some drawers attached to it, or kind of like multifunctional items. I'm seeing a lot more storage items. Even like, for example, my dining room table. We bought a dining room table. I didn't even know it at the time. There's a little drawer on either side that opens. And I was absolutely thrilled by it because I'm like, oh, look, I can put the placemats and things in
I was going to say, what do you keep in there?
Placemats. Yeah. So just kind of like more customizable options, I think, or, more unique storage solutions. I'm noticing a lot more.
So what do you do? So you go through someone's home, you go through your own home, you have a lot of things that are no longer sparking joy, or there's too many of them, and it's time to get rid of the, spatulas number 2 through 5. Like, what do you do with those things?
So we have a team of organizers who work all over the city. So we go to somebody's house, we're decluttering, we're loading up the things that they want to donate. And depending on where each person lives, we try to find a charity or for me personally, a thrift store that's local to me that you donate things there. The proceeds from that shop help the community, help people pay their water bill, electricity bill and things like that. And so it's really great for the clients because usually they're like, I just don't want to take it to Goodwill, which Goodwill's fine, but they would love to know that it's going to somebody who can use it. So we try to find places where we know sometimes there's specific things. There's one ministry we talked about recently called House to Home, and they help people coming out of homelessness set up apartments and homes, and they'll come. They have a big box truck. They'll come and pick up furniture. They have a list of items they accept, but certain furniture items that they will come pick up and they take to the person who is setting up a new home. So it's really lovely when we can do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm the same way, always looking for different organizations to support. And even the rescue mission is a great one. They also accept like open things. I had one client who had recently had a colon surgery. So she had a bunch of different like adult diapers that she was trying to find the right one for her. And so she had a ton of open. They took that all and they were like, this is so great. We need it. Only one was pulled out. So yeah, anytime we can find something, I think that to give to somebody that needs is good, but also there's no fear in the trash can. And I hate to say that, but if what's holding you back from letting go is that you don't think it has a good home, well, it's in the world. It's been created. So throwing it away or keeping it in your house isn't saving the environment. So whenever I do that, and I have some anxiety about the environment, could go down a whole rabbit hole there, but anytime I throw something away that I'm like, oh, I wish I could recycle this. I wish there was a home. Instead, I think, okay, how can I not consume this anymore? I'm going to throw it away, but how can I not bring it into my house and support the making of this when what it's doing is harming the environment? So however you get rid of it is okay. Just make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to bring it back in.
Burn it and put it on social media. Be like, yeah, I don't like this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Keeping it in your house isn't saving the environment. That is my takeaway from today.
I would agree. And also, there are all these different groups now, like the Buy Nothing group, Free Cycle, places like that where you can offer things to your neighbors, your friends, people in your community that, I see that a lot with people who have young children. They grow out of things so quickly, and maybe now someone in your neighborhood could use that bouncy seat or whatever it might be. I also like to partner with a bunch of nonprofit organizations. There's one in Clarksville, Bella's Closet, and they have a boutique set up of clothing, accessories. It started for women, and now it has expanded into kids and men as well, where people in the community who need it can go in and shop this boutique, and they pay nothing. So they get like a full, summer, spring, whatever wardrobe it is that they need. And it's all based on donations. So when people have all those items in your closet that some of them still have tags or you've never even worn them or used them, that's a great organization that I like to encourage people to bring items to.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's nice to have you guys to be able to get rid of some of that stuff, because sometimes it's so frustrating. You'll call like a particular service and they're like, yes, between 2 and 5 on September 28th, we will accept clothes that have been pressed that are on nice hangers. And you're like, no. Like, I mean, I get it, but no.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about organizers is we're here to help you with those resources. Like, I know if I'm working with someone in a certain area, I'll look around that area and see what sort of resources are available before I even start helping them through that process. So I have ideas of where they can take things when they're ready to.
Yeah, so tell us, how do digital tools or apps fit into kind of modern organizing? And are there any that you recommend, or, things that agents can kind of utilize as kind of part of what they do?
I'm not the most tech savvy person, so I don't have a great insight there.
But you guys did talk about some for making it look clean.
ChatGPT. I will use ChatGPT, and it's still in early phases when it comes to like changing pictures. It also is a huge environmental cost to change pictures. I will put that out there. And it's slow because of that. So it's burning a lot of energy at the storage centers. But you can, I'll take a picture of a pantry and then have ChatGPT get rid of everything in it. And so you could show that as the space. I think a realtor could do that easily, to say this is what the space looks without anything in it. Makes it easier for you to envision your things, especially if the client, doesn't have the time or the money to really get into the nitty gritty of all their things and purge.
Like, I really love that picture of your kid doing that awful thing, or the awful picture that your kid drew that you think is adorable. However, let me just show you this to show you how it might look to someone else.
Yes. Yep. You could take a picture of something in your client's home right now that they want to take to their new home, and you could take a picture of the new home and have that picture superimposed in it with technology.
Well, that also made me think, which kind of leads into the next question. If someone is having a hard time getting their head around, like, I mean, I can clean my house, like I'm going to pay another person to clean my house. It's almost like, okay, well, here's how it looks now. How much would it be worth to you for it to look like this, right? Like, that would be great. So in that vein, so when someone hires you, like, how do you work with them? Like, how do you charge for your services? Is it like a per room or per hour, or how do you do that?
So we we do package hours. So it is basically an hourly rate, but we try to present it to the client in a package so they understand, like, because if you say this X amount per hour, they're in their mind like, oh, just a couple hours, that'd be great, when it's going to be like 20 hours, so we can say, okay, we think it's going to be 20 hours. This is the cost, so we don't confuse them, basically. So we estimate how long the project will take based on the pictures they send us, or in an in-home consultation, and say, okay, I think this project's going to be one day. It's this package hour, basically.
Yeah, I do the same way. And I'm glad to hear that's how Melanie does it, because she's been doing it longer than me. So, we do by the hour. And it really is about the amount of stuff. So it either takes pictures or an in-home consult to be able to estimate how long we think it'll take.
Same here. In-home consultation for sure is the easiest way to kind of really get a good grasp on what you're looking at. But yeah, hourlies and per session type of pricing.
And there's so many variables. It's so hard because it depends on the client, how much stuff they have, how much stuff is hiding under the bed, and then how quick they are with making decisions. So we have some clients who can make decisions very quickly, and we just fly through it. Others have to look at every item, tell us the story about the item, tell us about the person who gave, and so those take longer. And so we kind of have to go at the pace of the client. And you try to get a feel for that when you meet them initially in that phone call or that consultation. So, and then you kind of have to add in those hours.
Do you ever say, like, that story cost you $75? Like, do you feel good about telling me that?
No, I would just gladly take their money.
I will also say one thing I find people will tell me often, oh, I have 1,200 square foot apartment. What would that cost? Or I have a 2,000 square foot home. What does that cost to have it organized? The square footage is essentially useless information to me because it depends on how much stuff you have in your home and, you know, what we're really looking at. So the square footage isn't as important as actually looking at the rooms and the space that you want to declutter or organize.
Yep. So the name of this podcast is the Real Estate Mailbag. So we have a mailbag question. Brandon, do you want to ask that one?
Okay. As a real estate agent, I know most of us would love for our sellers to hire an organizer as part of the listing process. How can I better sell your services to my clients? You know, what should I be saying to them? What's the sales pitch?
I would say professional organizers can come in and help the initial process just go so much quicker. They can get their house listed quicker. We can take the burden off of them from all the work. We can do it sometimes while they're working, you know, they're not even there, just to make that go quicker, basically.
Yeah, I would encourage them to meet with a organizer. Just talk it through, see if it's a good fit, see if you think that they could help you. I've had clients that have hired me for 4 hours and need me back every week until they list. And I've had a client that she used me for 4 hours and she said, I think I've got this after it. And she went ahead and was able to do it all herself. So, and I also have a few agents that they pay for a 4-hour session. And if the client feels like it needs to go further, then that client will pay me.
I think also tying that into closing cost and things like that. And you can also do even a little bit of a cost benefit analysis in terms of you may be paying for organization services, but then that'll cut off some of your move cost, you know, for the moving services or the labor to essentially move all of your items. And I've also found realtors will offer like a session as a closing gift or a discount on a session as a closing gift to clients, which I think is a really nice way to entice them.
Yeah, I actually really love that because I feel like at closing, you know, we're always like, oh, you know, here's a bottle of wine. And sometimes they get very nice things, but we don't always know what's best for their home. So I don't know. I don't know how like a client perceives that, but that would be really fun for me. Maybe it's like getting a stapler for some clients. So I don't know. But
For a while, I was offering something where the agent didn't pay, like they paid $5 for my service up front. And if their client used me, then I would remit an invoice to the realtor. And that way they're not paying for something that somebody maybe doesn't want to use. Loved the realtor that helped me buy my house, but his gift was in the trash pretty quickly. Hopefully he's not listening. That was many years ago.
You organized it.
I think this has been really great. I do wonder, just before we wrap here, I want you guys to tell us if there's something that was, you know, that is forever seared into your brain that you have seen. Every agent I know has that house that they can remember going in, and they're like, oh, like that place is, I'm always going to remember that. Like, what's that moment for you guys that you're like, oh?
I have a lot, but the one that came to mind, this couple had just moved into their house. It wasn't a new house. We walked in and the walls were hot pink, dark purple. It was like 1980s color, like, but they were dark colors. And I was like, this looks like fresh paint. And the carpet was sprinkled with all these colors, you know. And so it's like, okay, this is interesting. And so then later on, I think when somebody on my team looked the listing up online, just curious, when they bought the house, it was all neutral, like beautiful, you know, just colors that we would use today. And like, oh, they chose to paint the walls this color. This is how they're going to live. And it was an interesting project.
Yeah, I've walked into some homes where people have just like abandoned rooms. They saw a mouse and it became a junk room. And when I say junk room, I mean 10-year-old male. and it's amazing. I really want to know who their exterminator is because the mouse problem was gone. The stuff was not. So, yeah, you see a lot of hoarding tendencies, but one thing I try to remember is it's all people and there's always a reason for it. So not trying to like plug myself, but that's what I remember is really the personalities you're working with and how you can really help them live a better life.
I have a couple of clients who they store so many items they're going to sell. You're never going to sell the things. You're not. You're just not. And I have to always tell them your time is money. And if you're going to spend 2 hours to put something and maybe get $10 or $20 off a Facebook Marketplace, is your time worth more than that? I think so. And I mean, whole shelving units of items that they're going to eventually sell.
But haven't started.
But it's still there. They're still there.
Well, give our listeners information on how they can reach you, and also if you have a category or an idea of who we might do this show with next, feel free to throw that in there too.
So mine's pretty easy, Nashville Home Organizers.com. Instagram, same, and Facebook. That's where I am. I was thinking about that question. I thought, what would be interesting, or who, I don't know who you've interviewed before, but in the house buying process, I think it's always interesting to learn from home inspectors and appraisers. Like, that's whole mystery to me. So that'd be interesting.
I would say like the move management companies would be great, especially some of those luxury ones that really go above and beyond, as well as anyone, handymen maybe that do small projects that can really increase the value of your home. I'd love to hear more about that.
Where can we find you?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I knew I was missing something. I am Do You Organization. So you can find me at doyouorganization.com or on Instagram and Facebook at Do You Organization.
I think it'd be interesting to hear from photographers and, any certain tips or tricks that they have on how to take photos just a certain way to make something look more appealing when you're trying to sell a home. My company name is Eco Consulting and Organizing, but my website and my socials are the ECO Consultant.
I love that, guys. And actually, I love those categories because I think that we get stuck in our own rut. But thinking about those ancillary services is really great. So that is a wrap for us today. Thank you guys so much. And if anybody has any ideas for any future shows, you can reach us at mailbag@wagonwheeltitle.com. Thanks to our panelists again and everyone for coming today. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Real Estate Mailbag.
Thank you so much for having us.